Welcome everybody. Today we're going to talk about the Bill of Rights. I'm going to try to keep this simple and fairly easy for you to understand. What we're going to do is we're going to read through each amendment, and then I'm going to do my best to try to explain it to you in a little bit easier terms so you can understand what each amendment is. So let's get started with Amendment number 1. Amendment 1. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people, peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Now, this one amendment has 5 different rights that we have, so this is going to take a little time to go over each one. But all 5 of them are equally important, so it is important that you guys understand all 5 of them. So here we go. Okay, so we'll start with the right to worship freely. The First Amendment has 2 guarantees of religious freedom. The first one is Congress can't make any faith the official religion of the United States, and it can't make any laws that favor any religion over the other. The second religious guarantee is that people can believe whatever they want about religion without fear of punishment, but they can't necessarily do whatever they want in the name of religious freedom. So a couple more rights that are covered by the First Amendment are your freedom of speech and freedom of the press. Okay? So what happened was the colonists realized the power of the pen, basically. And they realized that the role the press plays in a democratic society is really important. Newspapers, magazine, online, whatever you have, television, they're kind of like the watchdogs of the government. And this free flow of ideas keeps the citizens informed. So you have to have a way to have free press that's completely protected so government can't abuse its power. The last 2 rights protected by the First Amendment are the right to peaceably assemble, meet together, and to petition. In other words, to appeal to the government. So the right to assembly means that citizens can use public property for meetings, demonstrations, parades, protest marches, political rallies. All forms of peaceful assembly are all protected by the First Amendment. Okay? Now, the First Amendment protects those peaceful meetings, but it doesn't give the right to it doesn't give the people the right to close streets, to close buildings, to protest violently. They're not allowed to throw rocks and stones. That's not a peaceful demonstration. That's breaking the law. Okay? The last one, petition, is real simple. It's just that if we have a grievance, if we have a complaint, we have the right as American citizens to say something to the government, and they have to give us time to explain what our problems are. It doesn't say they have to solve those problems, but it does say that they have to listen to us. The Second Amendment states, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So during colonial times, Britain had a standing army that was used to keep the colonists in line. So after winning their independence, Americans were really suspicious of standing armies. They didn't want to relive that horrible stuff again. So they preferred to rely on volunteer state militias to protect the country. Okay? So the meaning of this amendment, obviously has been debated since then. Some argue that it protects the right of people to own guns only as a part of an organized militia, like the National Guard. And others think that the Second Amendment protects the right of individuals to own weapons for their own self-defense. I'm not going to debate it either way. I just want you guys to be aware of the Second Amendment and what the point of it was. Amendment number 3. No soldier shall, in time of peace, be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. Now, we've talked about this before. You remember the Quartering Acts, where the colonists had to let the British soldiers live in their houses and feed them and give them any provisions they wanted without paying for it. It made them so upset and angered them so much that they wanted to guarantee that there was an amendment that stated that that could not happen again, and that's what Amendment 3 is. The Fourth Amendment states the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. So basically, what the Fourth Amendment does is it protects people and their belongings from unreasonable searches and seizures. A seizure is the act of forcibly taking control of a person or property. Before arresting a person or searching someone's house, the police must show a judge that there's a good reason for allowing the action. Then the judge has to issue a warrant that says exactly who will be arrested or what will be searched. The Fifth Amendment states, "No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia, when in actual service in time of war or public danger, nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation." This one's a pretty long one. We're going to break it down, okay? There's 5 important rights that citizens are covered on, all right? First one is the amendment gives people who are accused of serious crimes the right to a grand jury hearing. A grand jury is a group of citizens who hear the government's evidence and then decide whether it justifies a trial. If so, the grand jury issues an indictment or a formal charge. If not, the accused person is released. Okay? And if you guys remember, Mrs. Davis was on a grand jury last year. The second thing it covers is it protects citizens from double jeopardy. Okay? And what this means is a person who's tried for a crime and found not guilty can't be tried again for the same crime. The third one is it prohibits self-incrimination, which means that the police can't force people to say things that might be used against them in a trial. Okay? So like today, police have to remind people of their right to remain silent before they start to question them. They also have to warn people that anything they say or anything they do can be used against them in a trial. Okay? The reminder of this is known as a Miranda warning, and that's named after a case in the Supreme Court. That protection against self-incrimination also applies to defendants testifying in court. They can refuse to answer questions that might damage their case. And this refusal is called taking the fifth. And I'm sure on TV you've heard them say, "I plead the fifth." That's what they're talking about. The next thing that the amendment covers is deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. What this means is the government has to follow clear rules and act reasonably as it carries out the law. For example, the Supreme Court ruled every person shall be presumed innocent until proven guilty. I know that that doesn't always happen in the press, but in the court of law, that's the way it's supposed to work. In addition, the government must prove its case against the defendant beyond a reasonable doubt. All right? And then finally, the last thing the Fifth Amendment covers is the government cannot take someone's private property for public use without just compensation. All right? What that means is if the government wants something of yours, they have to pay a fair price for it. Excuse me. Before they can take that person's property for the purpose of building roads or parks or something like that. Okay, so we just covered amendments 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. There are 5 more to go, and I don't want to overwhelm you guys, so we will cover 6 through 10 tomorrow. So read the assignment, do the assignment, and I will talk to you again tomorrow. Bye.